Archangel Michael says the sky above you is not silent, and the air around you is not empty, and the hour that approaches carries instructions written in light. Archangel Michael says your name is being spoken in rooms you cannot see, carried by wings that do not tire, and sealed by a promise that has waited for the right night. Archangel Michael says the right night is this one, and the right moment is now, and the right message stands before your heart like a door ready to open. You are not late because destiny knows the speed of your steps, and grace respects the rhythm of your breath, and the miracle reserved for you aligns itself to meet you where you stand. The pages that refuse to turn are loosening their edges, and the lock that resisted is warming to your touch, and the path that curved away is curling back toward your feet. You have carried fragments of a vision, and the vision has carried fragments of you, and tonight those pieces come together as one whole. In the center of your life there is an altar you did not build with hands, and on that altar lies the hourglass of your becoming, and the sand within it has agreed to pause until you are ready. Your readiness is not perfection, and your readiness is not evidence, and your readiness is simply the yes your heart speaks without sound. Heaven hears the yes, and heaven answers the yes, and heaven multiplies the yes into doors you can finally see. A warning arrives with tenderness because love refuses to bruise you, and a trumpet sounds softly because your spirit understands whispers, and the countdown begins not to frighten you but to focus you. A lamp is being placed in your window, and a path is being sketched in silver, and a guide is stepping out of mist to walk with you. Nothing that tries to distract you can hold your gaze for long, because truth pulls the eyes back to the place where help is waiting. The memory of your earlier losses loosens its grip, and the story that labeled you breaks along its seams, and the definitions others chose for you return to their senders. A new vocabulary arrives through you like fresh wind, and your name finds its original pronunciation, and your steps rediscover their music. The promise that slept under winter is waking, and the root that held its breath through drought is tasting rain, and the field that looked empty is suddenly green. The night does not hide you because heaven knows where you are, and the shadows do not swallow you because light has already marked your path, and the cold cannot keep you because a fire waits in your bones. You have been carried when you thought you were crawling, and you have been seen when you felt invisible, and you have been loved when you felt unchosen. The ledger of your tears has not been lost, and the archive of your prayers has not been erased, and the mathematics of mercy always balances in your favor. A message plants itself in your chest like a seed that knows spring, and it asks nothing from you except your openness, and your openness is already answering. You do not need ornate words because sincerity is a key, and you do not need a stage because humility is a door, and you do not need a crowd because heaven moves with the few who are willing. Tonight you are counted among the willing, and the count is enough, and the count triggers the gates. The hour is divided into moments that arrive like gentle waves, and each wave carries a fragment of instruction, and each fragment fits in the palm of your spirit. You are being directed not pushed, and you are being invited not coerced, and you are being guided not threatened. The countdown is mercy wearing the face of time, and the message is love wearing the voice of courage, and the miracle is provision wearing the hands of light. What hindered you is not stronger than what holds you, and what delayed you is not greater than what waits for you, and what opposed you is not deeper than what chose you. Your story bends toward healing as a tree bends toward sun, and your name rises on the wind like a kite that refuses to fall, and your breath meets a steadiness that feels like home. The cold room of uncertainty warms as if a fireplace has quietly lit, and every wall that kept you small learns to become a door. A promise stands in front of you wearing your memories like jewels, and it speaks in the accent of your childhood so you recognize it, and it calls you by the name you haven't heard in years. The path does not lead you away from yourself, and the path does not ask you to be someone else, and the path invites the truest part of you to lead. The light that seemed far away had already taken your measurements, and now it fits your life like a tailored garment, and nothing about it feels borrowed. Your hands are not empty because desire is also a tool, and your heart is not weak because softness is also strength, and your hope is not naive because faith is also intelligence. The signs have been simple on purpose so you would not miss them, and the doors have been low on purpose so you would bow only to love, and the windows have been clear on purpose so you would see yourself in the view. Every step you take tonight speaks a sentence into the future, and the future answers back with welcome, and the welcome washes your feet. A circle of protection closes around your name, and a signature of light arrives on your behalf, and a release order goes out for what was delayed. The network that tried to confuse your path loses its signal, and the voice that tried to shame your pace loses its echo, and the pattern that tried to own your tone loses its claim. You exhale the dust that belonged to yesterday, and you inhale the air of the hour you were promised, and your lungs learn a new rhythm. You do not negotiate with storms when you have authority over weather, and you do not plead with gates when you hold the key, and you do not ask permission from walls that remember your strength. The room grows taller because your spirit stands, and the ceiling lifts because your voice returns, and the floor steadies because your feet accept their assignment. The night bends to make room for your dawn, and the dawn rushes forward to meet your voice, and your voice prepares the ground. You were not mistaken about the kindness you sensed, and you were not foolish to keep showing up, and you were not wrong to believe that something larger waited for you. The doors that stayed closed did not reject you, and the delays were choreography not denial, and the silence was a classroom not a cage. Your preparations were never wasted, and your patience was never mocked, and your endurance was never invisible. In the realm where answers assemble, your name is treated like a bell, and it rings when your faith speaks, and it rings now. Every helpful presence assigned to you takes position, and every provision earmarked for you locates your coordinates, and every thread of favor begins to weave. The tapestry forming is not random, and the pattern is not fragile, and the colors refuse to fade. A soft command reaches you like music that knows your heartbeat, and it lifts you without lifting your feet, and it strengthens you without straining your frame. The command is simple because truth does not compete with noise, and the command is gentle because love does not imitate fear, and the command is timely because grace understands clocks. You hold still on the inside the way a lake holds stars, and the stars tell you that alignment is occurring, and alignment feels like wine through open curtains. Old labels release their glue and slide off your story, and fingerprints that did not belong to you lift from your identity, and the mirror returns your true face. The path you walk recognizes your stride, and the doors you open recognize your touch, and the rooms you enter recognize your authority. Every misnamed season returns your correct title, and every diminished chapter returns your full page, and every withheld blessing returns with interest. The night receives its assignment to carry your miracle, and the minute hand cooperates with mercy, and your heart learns how to listen with its eyes. There is a point where surrender becomes strategy, and you are standing on that point, and it feels like home. There is a point where yielding becomes victory, and you have arrived at that point, and it feels like breath. The 3 words you will speak are not spells that bend the world, and they are not bargains that tax your soul, and they are not tricks that cheat your heart. They are a code your spirit recognizes because heaven wrote it there, and they are a key your journey cut from the wood of your endurance, and they are a bell your future rings to let the gates know you are near. Those 3 words will steady your hands and open your path and anchor your name. You do not speak them to impress, and you do not speak them to perform, and you do not speak them to be seen. You speak them because they are true, and you speak them because they belong to your alignment, and you speak them because they bring what is promised into the room. When you speak them, the room will not explode, and the sky will not crack, and yet everything will quietly change. Before the words, there is a breath that tastes like clarity, and before the breath, there is a stillness that feels like warmth, and before the stillness, there is a gentle permission to unclench. Your shoulders drop because the weight is no longer yours, and your jaw loosens because the fight is not against you, and your forehead smooths because the plan is already prepared. The light that meets you does not interrogate, and the love that greets you does not invoice, and the mercy that clothes you does not expire. You are not losing time because obedience compresses distance, and you are not losing chances because favor multiplies outcomes, and you are not losing strength because joy renews stamina. The circle widening at your feet is opportunity, and the echo becoming a voice is guidance, and the whisper becoming a song is confirmation. You stand where earth and grace agree, and that agreement becomes your passport, and that passport clears your passage. The quiet inventory you take of your heart reveals a simplicity you can keep, and the simplicity is a shelter you can carry, and the shelter is a place you can pray. The prayer is not a performance because the audience is love, and the prayer is not a negotiation because the giver is generous, and the prayer is not a speech because the listener already knows. What you bring is yourself, and what you keep is peace, and what you leave with is direction. In the distance of your days a door opens on soft hinges, and in the near field of your night a lantern lights without flame, and in the immediate circle of your body a gentleness arrives. The gentleness is not weakness because it carries a sword of light, and the lantern is not small because it knows how to grow, and the door is not narrow because it widens for names like yours. Every fear that asked to be fed learns it must starve, and every lie that demanded loyalty learns it must leave, and every burden that insisted on staying learns it must go. You have been rehearsing this moment without realizing it, and your endurance was teaching you the melody, and your hope was teaching you the steps. Now the music plays in the center of your chest, and the steps arrive on their own, and the floor supports every turn. Your story does not apologize for its valleys because the peaks need contrast, and your history does not apologize for its deserts because the rivers need context, and your heart does not apologize for its tenderness because power needs softness. The map you carry folds exactly along your lifeline, and the coordinates it shows align with the tug you have felt, and the tug has always been guidance not restlessness. The teacher you needed arrives without credentials you can see, and yet your spirit recognizes the authority, and your mind settles without debate. The night winds quiet themselves around your window as if listening, and the windowpane warms as if touched by sunrise, and the silence grows friendly. You are not performing a trick, and you are not testing a superstition, and you are not borrowing belief that does not fit your shape. You are returning to the center, and you are returning to the voice that knows your first morning, and you are returning to the hands that shaped your courage. The return is not backwards because love is both origin and destination, and the return is not small because home is larger than wandering, and the return is not late because timing is written into mercy. What comes next does not require a stage, and what comes next does not require witnesses, and what comes next does not require noise. It requires only a willingness that sounds like breath, and a steadiness that looks like stillness, and a trust that feels like warmth on your palms. You hold your hands the way a field holds rain, and you hold your breath the way a harbor holds boats, and you hold this moment the way a heart holds names. When the words arrive you will know them because they fit, and you will know them because they taste like relief, and you will know them because they feel like right weight. They will not be heavy even though they carry worlds, and they will not be loud even though they move gates, and they will not be complicated even though they resolve knots. You will not chase them because they will come to you, and you will not wrestle them because they will rest on you, and you will not fear them because they will love you. You are not walking alone because assignment always travels with angels, and you are not speaking alone because promise always travels with echo, and you are not standing alone because lineage always travels with witness. The witnesses are not human eyes yet they see better, and the echoes are not human ears yet they hear deeper, and the angels are not human hands yet they steady stronger. Together they align the moment so your words land where they should. This is not about deserving because mercy outruns merit, and this is not about debt because love cancels invoices, and this is not about luck because purpose follows design. You have been readied through seasons that felt like delay, and you have been seasoned through roads that felt like detour, and you have been protected through storms that felt like punishment. The protection did not shout because confidence is quiet, and the provision did not brag because generosity is humble, and the guidance did not scold because wisdom is kind. The miracle that answers you carries form and function, and it knows how to become what you need, and it knows how to remain when you rest. It comes as opportunity where doors were closed, and it comes as clarity where fog was thick, and it comes as peace where noise was heavy. It will also come as correction where paths crooked, and it will also come as pruning where weight gathered, and it will also come as courage where fear nested. Your name is lifted like a lantern in rooms with long tables, and signatures begin to move in your favor, and conversations soften toward your good. The road that had no shoulder widens, and the calendar that had no space opens, and the ledger that had no balance settles. The people meant for your next chapter remember how to find you, and the skills meant for your purpose stand up ready, and the resources meant for your mission hear your call. You will not be asked to shrink to fit, and you will not be asked to pretend to belong, and you will not be asked to apologize for shining. Your brightness does not shout because it has nothing to prove, and your kindness does not perform because it has nothing to sell, and your steadiness does not posture because it has nothing to hide. You are enough for the room you are about to enter, and you are correct for the task you are about to carry, and you are chosen for the table that is about to set. The timing is exact in a way that feels like a miracle, and the miracle is exact in a way that feels like timing, and the timing and the miracle agree that you are ready. The doors do not argue with the key that fits, and the gates do not debate the voice that has authority, and the chains do not negotiate with the light that dissolves them. Your future is not at war with your past because grace sits between them and keeps the peace, and your present is not lost between them because mercy carries it across. You have always known there would be a night like this, and you have always known there would be a word like this, and you have always known there would be a peace like this. The peace is not passive because it moves mountains, and the word is not small because it builds foundations, and the night is not empty because it holds miracles. Everything needed is assembled, and everything assembled is aligned, and everything aligned is released. The 3 words stand at the edge of your lips like birds who know their flight path, and they wait for your breath to lift them, and your breath is ready. You place your hands over your heart because that is where the altar lives, and you steady your feet because that is where the river stands, and you close your eyes because that is where the sky opens. The countdown is kindness, and it has reached the moment that matters, and the moment that matters has reached for you, and you are touching it now. Speak them once with conviction that sounds like quiet thunder, and speak them once with surrender that feels like warm water, and speak them once with joy that glows like embers. The 3 sacred words are these, and they come without struggle, and they land without tremor. Light. Mercy. Rise. When light leaves your mouth, the room remembers its windows, and the windows remember the sun, and your name remembers dawn. When mercy leaves your mouth, the ledger remembers the eraser, and the eraser remembers the ink, and your history remembers relief. When rise leaves your mouth, the ground remembers its promise, and the promise remembers its signature, and your future remembers its door. You feel the alignment not like a shout but like a settling, and you feel the shift not like a shove but like a hand on your back, and you feel the welcome not like a crowd but like a home. The next steps will look ordinary to strangers because wisdom hides treasure inside simple roads, and the next doors will look familiar because destiny prefers truth over spectacle, and the next provisions will look sustainable because love builds what lasts. You will move with the ease of someone who has already been introduced, and you will speak with the calm of someone who has already been confirmed, and you will rest with the safety of someone who has already been held. The echo of those words continues long after your lips are quiet, and their music keeps walking through rooms ahead of you, and their light keeps settling over details behind you. You sleep as if guarded by gentle sentries, and you rise as if an early song knows your name, and you walk as if every step is both guided and free. Your story carries the fingerprint of this night, and your purpose carries the fragrance of this hour, and your life carries the blessing of this obedience. A letter that waited on a desk finds the right signature, and a conversation that stalled finds the right sentence, and a door that creaked finds the right hinge. The people who must meet you are moved by currents they cannot see, and the resources that must find you travel by routes they cannot explain, and the favor that must cloth you arrives by timing they cannot control. None of it is forced, and none of it is fragile, and none of it is fleeting. You do not chase. And you do not fear outcomes that never belong to you, and you do not mourn outcomes that would have mistaken you. You receive what is yours because you are ready, and you keep what is yours because you are faithful, and you share what is yours because you are generous. Your hands learn a new language called stewardship, and your voice learns a new language called clarity, and your days learn a new language called peace. Tonight closes with softness rather than noise, and your room holds the warmth of an answered prayer, and your heart holds the certainty of a settled promise. The 3 words continue to do their work without demanding your attention, and the miracle continues to organize your steps without requesting your supervision, and the grace continues to defend your borders without asking you to stand guard. You live tomorrow as someone who has already met their turning point, and you live it quietly because peace does not need an audience, and you live it joyfully because goodness likes to be noticed. Archangel Michael says your task now is simple and beautiful and sustainable, and your task is to keep your heart unclenched, and your task is to keep your hands open. Archangel Michael says your assignment is to let light remain, and your assignment is to let mercy multiply, and your assignment is to let your life rise. Archangel Michael says the countdown completed not to end you but to begin you, and the hour passed not to punish you but to position you, and the message arrived not to frighten you but to free you. The night exhales and the window accepts a hint of morning, and the floor carries the sound of footsteps that know where they are going, and the mirror reflects someone who has been told the truth. You move through your rooms like someone who has met a promise, and you step outside like someone who has shaken hands with dawn, and you greet the day like someone who belongs. The miracle that met you at night walks beside you in daylight, and it holds your schedule with invisible strength, and it keeps your peace within reach. The world around you will feel the difference without being able to label it, and the spaces you enter will lift as if lighter, and the conversations you have will land as if wiser. Your presence will gain authority without becoming hard, and your vision will gain distance without losing tenderness, and your choices will gain precision without forfeiting grace. You will give credit to the love that shaped the road, and you will keep faith with the light that marked the path, and you will honor the mercy that lifted the weight. Nothing can unwrite what was written tonight because the ink is light, and nothing can repossess what was released tonight because the deed is mercy, and nothing can lower what was raised tonight because the foundation is love. You carry forward what is necessary and leave behind what is not, and you remember the 3 words without clinging to them like a shield, and you hold them instead like a compass. Light. Mercy. Rise. This is your turning, and this is your keeping, and this is your walking. This is your new baseline of peace, and this is your new radius of favor, and this is your new cadence of courage. You are ready for the good that recognizes your name, you are ready for the work that fits your hands, and you are ready for the joy that fits your chest. If you wish to express your support further, you have the option to give super thanks, with contributions of up to $20. Archangel Michael says the night completes its vow as you carry the 3 words like a steady flame, and the flame does not flicker under wind, and the wind learns to escort the light rather than oppose it. The ground senses your arrival and hardens kindly underfoot, and the horizon senses your certainty and steps closer, and the air senses your peace and grows generous. This is how alignment behaves when welcomed, and this is how paths answer when honored, and this is how miracles live when trusted. You walk into morning with quiet authority, and doors open because they recognize the signature of your obedience, and tasks simplify because they prefer your new clarity. The weight you once misnamed as yours returns to the sender, and the delay you once misread as denial reveals its lesson, and the ache you once carried as identity becomes a healed scar that speaks wisdom. The 3 words continue their work like gentle artisans, and they carve away what does not belong, and they polish what must shine. Light stands at your shoulder like a companion who knows the map, and it points to details your eyes now catch, and it warms old corners that held dust. Mercy sits at your table like bread that never runs out, and it feeds your speech with tenderness, and it feeds your thoughts with room. Rise steadies your spine like a promise that remembers, and it chooses courage for your posture, and it chooses forward for your pace. Your voice enters rooms as a calming instrument, and the melody you carry makes space for agreement, and the silence you keep gives wisdom a place to land. The projects that mattered but stalled begin to breathe, and the relationships that mattered but frayed begin to soften, and the plans that mattered but scattered begin to collect themselves. You keep your joy close like water for the road, and your focus close like shade for the noon, and your humility close like a key for every door. A letter arrives with firm kindness, and it clears what once entangled you, and it sets dates that move you. An introduction reaches you by means that make sense only to heaven, and it feels like a hand you were meant to shake, and it carries a future you were meant to meet. A solution appears where there was only static, and it tidy UPS what had become loud, and it anchors what had drifted. You place the 3 words into your morning as a rhythm you can keep, and they move your schedule toward purpose, and they teach your hours how to be generous. Light goes first so your steps do not guess, and mercy goes with so your speech does not bruise, and rise follows behind so your courage does not scatter. This is not performance because peace does not perform, and this is not display because truth does not parade, and this is not strain because grace carries most of the weight. Archangel Michael says you have entered the chapter where your yes turns into paths, and the paths turn into progress, and the progress turns into testimony you can quietly live. The proof is not noise because the fruit is enough, and the fruit is not hurried because roots are deep, and the roots are not shallow because the season taught you to hold. Nothing essential is fragile here, and nothing generous is scarce here, and nothing true is complicated here. Your hands remember how to bless without spectacle, and your eyes remember how to see what helps, and your feet remember how to stand where you belong. You measure your words with kindness, and you measure your choices with peace, and you measure your days with gratitude that behaves like strength. The people attached to your purpose feel covered in your presence, and the rooms attached to your assignment feel ordered by your calm, and the moments attached to your promise feel widened by your trust. Where fear once rehearsed its script, you now carry a better language, and it sounds like courage that does not shout, and it sounds like wisdom that does not scold. The old alarms do not control your timing because timing is now governed by grace, and the old shadows do not control your posture because posture is now governed by truth, and the old doubts do not control your speech because speech is now governed by love. Your history participates as counsel, not as warden, and your future participates as invitation, not as pressure, and your present participates as sanctuary, not as test. You move through tasks with an ease that looks like favor in slow motion, and you solve problems with a patience that looks like strategy in bloom, and you receive help with a humility that looks like wisdom in practice. The 3 words are stitched into your day so naturally that even interruptions become classrooms, and even detours become corridors, and even pauses become porches where guidance sits with you. Your calendar is no longer a cage because peace is your clock, and your outcomes are no longer idols because purpose is your compass, and your pace is no longer frantic because alignment is your engine. A message you send lands with accuracy, and a submission you feared returns with approval, and an idea you shelved asks to be built. Resources that seemed unavailable reveal their hiding place, and mentors who felt distant answer with timing that feels exact, and spaces that looked crowded make room as if instructed. Nothing is wasted when alignment is present, and nothing is missing when assignment is active, and nothing is late when mercy is writing. Light continues to find what needs warmth more than spotlight, and it sees the person behind the problem, and it sees the story behind the posture. Mercy continues to trim the weight from your sentences, and it lets you be strong without being sharp, and it lets you be clear without being cold. Rise continues to choose the higher ground without theatrics, and it lets you leave battles that do not belong to you, and it lets you accept victories that do. Your home becomes a sanctuary of ordered quiet, and your work becomes a vessel of designed impact, and your rest becomes a teacher of deep replenishment. You drink water like someone who understands rivers, and you take walks like someone who understands seasons, and you keep promises like someone who understands names. The small habits turn the great wheel, and the great wheel moves without squeal, and the road hums beneath your steady feet. Archangel Michael says the agreements you make today echo kindly into rooms you will not see for months, and the boundaries you keep today teach others how to love you, and the kindness you offer today teaches you how to love others. You refrain from rescuing what must grow, and you refrain from rushing what must root, and you refrain from repeating what must retire. This restraint is not denial because it is devotion, and this patience is not passivity because it is precision, and this calm is not emptiness because it is presence. You become impossible to bait into chaos because peace has learned your name, and you become immune to scarcity theater because provision has learned your address, and you become uninterested in applause because purpose has learned your heart. The soundtrack of your days shifts from alarm to assurance, and from pressure to proportion, and from comparison to contentment. Even your memories receive color correction under light, and even your mistakes receive meaning under mercy, and even your pauses receive momentum under rise. Opportunities arrive dressed like service, and you accept them because service is not smaller than success, and success born of service holds. The new allies you meet feel familiar because your spirit knew them before your calendar did, and the new places you step feel rightful because your purpose surveyed them ahead of you, and the new roles you carry feel fitted because wisdom hemmed them to your frame. You do not outgrow your gratitude as influence grows, and you do not outsource your integrity as authority grows, and you do not overtalk your mystery as visibility grows. The 3 words become culture in your circle, and everyone breathes easier near you, and everyone thinks cleaner near you. Projects finish because clutter no longer receives your energy, and negotiations settle because kindness has become your leverage, and plans mature because patience has become your scaffolding. The room learns that you are both gentle and exact, and the field learns that you are both soft and steadfast, and the future learns that you are both open and anchored. You keep a practice at dusk where you return to stillness, and it lasts long enough to notice your breath, and it lasts long enough to notice your gratitude. You place the day under light so the lessons remain, and you place the day under mercy so the errors dissolve, and you place the day under rise so the courage refills. This is how endurance stays tender, and this is how excellence stays human, and this is how progress stays holy. A quiet confidence settles in your bones, and it informs your posture in rooms that once made you small, and it informs your voice in conversations that once pulled you thin. You make eye contact with possibility and do not flinch, and you make choices with clarity and do not wobble, and you make commitments with joy and do not regret. The landscape around you starts to reflect the landscape within you, and order greets you at each threshold, and peace accompanies you at each turn. Light keeps your motives honest without humiliation, and honesty travels with you like open windows, and fresh air continues to circulate. Mercy keeps your corrections kind without compromise, and kindness travels with you like soft rain, and dry places remember how to green. Rise keeps your ambition clean without addiction, and elevation travels with you like sunrise, and darkness remembers how to leave. Tasks that once demanded force now answer to rhythm, and you tap that rhythm with decisions that have backbone, and you anchor that rhythm with rest that has depth. The yes you give is clean and sustainable, and the no you give is clear and respectful, and the maybe you give is thoughtful and brief. You live with a cadence that blesses both the work and the worker, and it feels like wisdom wearing work boots, and it feels like grace wearing a planner. Archangel Michael says you are now a lighthouse that remembers the cliff and honors the sea, and you signal through weather without burning out, and you welcome vessels without owning them. Influence reaches you not as spotlight but as stewardship, and you carry it without craving, and you return it without resistance. What you build carries the fingerprint of the 3 words, and it lasts because it is honest, and it spreads because it is useful. You notice the beauty of small faithful things, and they teach you how the grand faithful things are born, and they teach you how the long faithful things endure. You notice the calm in rooms where you used to lose your center, and you keep it like treasure, and you share it like bread. You notice the discernment that arrives quickly now, and you trust it because love sharpened it, and you use it because service needs it. If storms gather, your roots remember their training, and your branches remember their reach, and your trunk remembers its strength. If noise swells, your ears remember the music under the noise, and your mind remembers the signal under the static, and your heart remembers the vow under the worry. If doors hesitate, your patience remembers the key, and your clarity remembers the hinge, and your courage remembers the threshold. Light. Mercy. Rise. The words remain a compass you can fold into any pocket, and they unfold cleanly whenever needed, and they always point you home. The people who meet you meet the peace you carry, and they feel safe to become their truest selves, and they feel invited to build what matters. The places you serve grow taller in your presence, and they learn to honor their own light, and they learn to practice their own mercy, and they learn to rise with dignity. Your night practices and morning practices weave into a fabric that does not tear under weight, and it drapes kindly over your days, and it warms everyone near. You rest in the knowledge that your path is not fragile, and you work from the certainty that your purpose is not temporary, and you love from the revelation that your source is not scarce. You carry on without hurry, without apology, and without fear, and the miracle continues to keep pace like a friend who insists on walking you home. Archangel Michael says the promise is kept in motion by your steady yes, and your steady yes keeps you in rooms where goodness multiplies, and goodness multiplies into stories that quietly heal others. This is how the holy miracle chooses to live through you, and this is how the countdown became a coronation, and this is how the 3 words became a way of being. You are held, you are led, and you are ready for more. Archangel Michael says the path ahead prefers steadiness to spectacle, and your steadiness now has muscle, and your peace now has a spine. The room that once measured you by volume now learns to measure you by value, and your value travels on the rails of consistency, and consistency carries you farther than rush ever did. The ground recognizes people who return faithfully, and you are that person, and the ground yields. You arrange your day like a song that knows when to breathe, and the rests between notes become just as holy as the notes, and your outcomes echo that wisdom. You choose beginnings that match your capacity, and you choose endings that honor your limits, and you choose middles that respect your attention. This arrangement turns chaos into choreography, and it turns pressure into pacing, and it turns striving into service. You practice seeing with affection before you analyze, and affection removes fog that analysis cannot, and your choices sharpen without becoming sharp. You practice listening for what is said and what is meant, and your discernment blossoms quietly, and your responses carry warmth with structure. You practice speaking to heal the room, and the room remembers, and the room repeats the kindness after you leave. Light visits your routines and removes the unnecessary without drama, and the space it creates fills with clarity, and the clarity becomes a habit. Mercy moves through your memory palace and dusts the shelves, and the artifacts of regret lose their sting, and the stories you keep begin to nourish instead of drain. Rise meets you at thresholds and escorts you through, and thresholds stop pretending to be walls, and walls remember they were always doors. A friendship that mattered but drifted finds an honest bridge, and the bridge is built of small sincere gestures, and those gestures travel farther than grand speeches. A partnership that needed structure receives it without losing warmth, and expectations take the shape of agreements, and agreements hold because they fit both sides. A quiet calling that once hid under fear steps onto your calendar, and your calendar makes room, and your confidence keeps it there. You move past old markers of validation that once held your gaze, and your new markers wear the clothing of integrity, and integrity refuses to age. You track progress in transformations rather than trophies, and transformation leaves footprints in your habits, and those footprints guide you on days when motivation dims. You learn that resilience is not clenched teeth but relaxed lungs, and you learn that authority is not volume but clean alignment, and you learn that abundance is not excess but sufficiency that keeps arriving. Archangel Michael says you are entrusted with influence that feels like stewardship, and stewardship loves maintenance as much as milestones, and maintenance is where legacies are shaped. You clean the small hinges so large doors keep swinging, and you check the quiet foundations so tall rooms stay safe, and you repair invisible seams so visible beauty remains true. This hidden work becomes joy because purpose enjoys being useful, and joy becomes endurance because delight is fuel, and endurance becomes excellence because love stays. When fatigue arrives it meets boundaries that are kind and firm, and the boundaries protect your flame without. And the flame learns longevity. When criticism arrives it meets humility that listens and discernment that sifts, and you keep the seed and release the chaff, and growth follows without bitterness. When praise arrives it meets gratitude that bows an identity that stands, and you receive the encouragement without renting your soul, and peace remains. Light keeps teaching your vision to choose depth over drama, and your eyes begin to notice levers where others see locks, and your hands begin to notice handles where others see walls. Mercy keeps softening your inner dialogue until it becomes a friend, and that friendship spreads outward, and others find rest in your presence. Rise keeps inviting you to higher speech and cleaner motives, and the altitude becomes normal, and the view informs your plans. You prioritize the person you are becoming over the applause you are collecting, and the person you are becoming can carry more than applause can give, and this reversal ends old hunger. You treat your creativity like a garden that thrives on rhythm, and rhythm arrives in morning pages and evening reflection, and both weave your day into a fabric that wears well. You treat your gifts like tools that build shelters, and the shelters house people and ideas, and both grow safely. Archangel Michael says your home is learning to speak peace even when you are not speaking, and the objects in your care learn order, and order learns hospitality. Your table hosts conversations that build bridges, and bridges expand circles, and circles include people who once stood at the edge. Your door becomes a threshold to dignity, and dignity refuses to be stingy, and the stinginess that once shadowed you has lost every argument. You are trusted with choices that shape other destinies, and you choose with a hand steady on light, and with a heart saturated in mercy, and with a spine aligned to rise. This trinity of practice becomes culture, and culture becomes commons, and the commons becomes community. Communities like this become weather systems of good, and they rain on fields you will never visit, and the harvest feeds mouths you will never meet. When complexity tries to grow thorns in your schedule, you prune with clarity instead of fury, and the vine thanks you by bearing fruit, and the fruit arrives in season. When urgency tries to counterfeit importance, you measure by purpose not panic, and the counterfeit loses value, and time returns to serving you. When scarcity tries to rehearse its old lines, you let gratitude speak its newer language, and the script change holds. Light continues to place clean mirrors in front of your motives, and the reflections teach you without shaming you, and growth follows without groaning. Mercy continues to braid courage with kindness, and the braid resists snapping, and your leadership becomes both soft and strong. Rise continues to call you into rooms where your old self could not breathe, and your lungs now work fine there, and others borrow your oxygen until they remember their own. You create spaces where mistakes can be metabolized into wisdom, and wisdom can be metabolized into practice, and practice can be metabolized into culture. You create plans that assume humanity rather than deny it, and those plans survive contact with reality, and resilience becomes the brand of your work. You create rhythms that honor the body as much as the dream, and the body thanks you with energy, and the dream thanks you with longevity. The legacy forming under your days prefers roots to fireworks, and roots build forests, and forests build climates that heal. The generosity flowing through your life learns direction, and direction multiplies impact, and impact stays gentle enough to be invited back. The courage growing in your chest learns patience, and patience plants seeds at the right depth, and the right depth yields harvests that do not topple. A new kind of opportunity arrives that looks like responsibility with a glow, and the glow is your yes, and the responsibility is your altar. You carry it with prayerful hands that do not tremble, and you carry it with intelligent eyes that do not close, and you carry it with joyful feet that do not stumble. This is not a strain because the yoke fits, and this is not a sprint because the race is long, and this is not a test because the lesson already lives in you. Light. Mercy. Rise. The words keep their promise without demanding attention, and they hum beneath your days like a faithful engine, and you glance at the gauges and find them steady. You keep your soul hydrated with silence and song and sincere laughter, and your teams hydrated with clarity and kindness and clean accountability, and your craft hydrated with learning and play and feedback that tells the truth. This hydration keeps deserts from returning, and it keeps fires from burning out, and it keeps growth from going brittle. Archangel Michael says the unseen has taken note of your stewardship, and doors beyond your planning table are unlocking on schedule, and the schedule is generous toward you. Alliances align without manipulation, and they are honest because your yes is honest, and they are durable because your no is respected. Provision arrives in forms that also teach you, and the teaching raises your ceiling, and the higher ceiling raises everyone standing with you. You no longer confuse momentum with meaning because meaning now sets the pace, and your pace protects your joy, and your joy protects your brilliance. You no longer confuse intensity with intimacy because intimacy now chooses gentleness, and gentleness chooses longevity, and longevity chooses truth. You no longer confuse visibility with value because value now lives at the root, and roots outlast storms, and storms bow to forests. Light refines your vision for the next horizon until it shows you the simple first step, and simple steps are how mountains are crossed, and you cross them. Mercy refines your voice for the next conversation until it carries both courage and care, and conversations like that change rooms, and rooms like that change cities. Rise refines your walk for the next elevation until it can climb without contempt, and elevations like that do not isolate, and your circle rises together. You end each day with gratitude that names specifics, and specifics train the mind to see gifts, and seeing gifts keeps the heart open. You start each morning with intention that names essentials, and essentials